there's this narrative around Oregon that I don't know that I totally understand all the way, but I get where it comes from. There's this idea that Oregon, as a program, just flops in the postseason. Like they lose to Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, and everyone's just running to Twitter. Typical Oregon. That O stands for zero national championships is what they do. And it's like, I get where it comes from, but I don't think the logic of it is all the way sound. That's the thing about punchline culture, man. You run to Twitter, you fire it off, and if it's funny enough and it clicks, people will like it, people will retweet it, and everyone has a good time in the moment. But if you actually examine the logic, it's a little bit smoke and mirrors to me. So again, the punchline here that people love to run to is Oregon always flops in the postseason, the big games, and whatever. Where this comes from, again, last year's Rose Bowl fiasco, but before that now, in 2014, Oregon lost the national title game. In 2010, also lost the national title game. So if Oregon had won a national championship in either of those games, do we have the same discussion? I don't know, but again, they didn't, so here we are. In this whole idea of Oregon not being great in the postseason, it's a little bit funny because you know who wasn't there for the majority of those games I just mentioned? Dan Lanning, who was there for the Rose Bowl game. Make no mistake about it, I think he would tell you that Oregon was not ready to play in that game, and they lost to the eventual national champion in Ohio State, so it is what it is. But to pin the Oregon postseason shortcomings on a head coach who wasn't even there for them or make him deal with that, narrative, not a little bit foolish? Aren't we a little bit better than that as a college football community? You would hope so. But I do think that Dan Lanning overall, he's not new to the punchline culture game. Remember, a year ago, what were people saying about Dan Lanning? Not a great in-game coach. I mean, he goes for it on fourth down against Washington. What is he doing? Goes for it in the first half against Washington for a 2-point conversion that ended up coming back to bite him. What is he doing? Dan Lanning, he can't coach on Saturdays. Good recruiter, good roster builder, but he's not a great coach on Saturdays. And then fast forward to the game against Ohio State in the regular season where Oregon beats Ohio State, and we're sitting here rewriting the rule book because of an in-game coaching decision that Oregon made from Dan Lanning that ended up being a massive differentiating factor for them in the fourth quarter and the final moments of that game to have a 12th man on the field. So kind of funny how we're not really saying that anymore about Dan Lanning, right? After they went 13-0, won the Big Ten, not really saying that anymore, huh? Very interesting how quickly the punchline culture can change around a certain player and coach. I will say, though, I do think if Oregon won a national championship, this whole thought goes away. In one game, it just goes away. I mean, when are we talking about? The 2014 game or 2010 against Auburn? It would just, right away, gone. And I don't know that we talk about this enough in the world of sports media. Dude, it's hard to win a national championship. They give out one of those a year. Or I'll say this, one of those a year is earned. And there's over 134 teams now in college football, 136, with the addition of, I believe it's Montana State and Delaware. Took Kirby Smart 6 years. Took Ryan Day 6 years. Dabo Swinney, 8 seasons. Nick Saban, 9 seasons. This isn't a thing where you just wake up one day and your team's a national champion just because you put together a good roster and you had a couple things break your way. It's very hard. You build to it over the course of a couple of different, failures, quite frankly. And I think Dan Lanning, over the course of his last 3 seasons at Oregon, has experienced those failures that will eventually propel him to be where he wants to be when it's all said and done with his time in Eugene. And here's the facts around Dan Lanning, all right? I just told you, 3 years, 35-6. Best team in college football last year at the end of the regular season. The reason why I'm so confident in Dan Lanning is because he continues to, just what we said, adjust. It's what good coaches, good businessmen, good students, just successful people in life, they adjust, they adapt to when they fail. And we saw that. They lost the conference title game in 2023. 2024, what happens? Go to the Big Ten title game, they win that thing. Have to think that in some way, shape, or form, the failure of losing the Pac-12 championship in 23 benefited their preparation to winning the Big Ten title in 2024. Now, maybe it's not a one-to-one correlation, but you hear what I'm saying. I think he adjusted from that. Also, we've seen him adjust when it comes to his roster and his staff. Kenny Dillingham, great OC for Oregon, leaves to ASU, doing great things now at ASU. Who does he hire? Will Stein. Okay, pretty good adjustment. Bo Nix goes pro. Who do they go get? Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel has been finalist. Pretty good adjustment. Now you have Dante Moore waiting in the wings, 5-star guy. I think you're probably in good shape there. Again, good adjustment. And so over the course of time now, again, you recruit as well as you do, you adjust as well as you do. Oregon is doing too many of the right things for me to believe it's not going to happen at some point in time for Dan Lanning. Too well-resourced. He sets the culture at too high a level, too high a temperature, and they're just too talented, quite frankly, to not be in this discussion every single year. So Oregon loses the big one every year, whatever, say what you want to say. But I'm just telling you now, punchline culture, I think, will be in for it when Dan Lanning does eventually win a national championship. At some point in time, Dan Lanning will win a national title in Eugene. And I think that some point in time will be in the next 3 seasons. I really do. Maybe it's this year. We'll see what happens. But punchline culture around Oregon, a little bit foolish for my money, but so it goes.